Hello everyone. On this channel, I feel that information about what is happening in China is often not correctly conveyed to countries other than China, so I will be disseminating the information I have gathered in English. I'm getting information from multiple media, so I'd be happy if you could comment on the content of the video. Also, English is not my native language, so I use an AI speaker to create the voice to convey the information correctly. If you like it, please subscribe to the channel and support us. This time I would like to talk about the riots in France that are indirectly related to China. According to one article, 45,000 police have been deployed in France to restore order. Regarding this matter, many people have doubts about the lack of media coverage in Japan. In fact, there is an opinion that even in countries other than Japan, the treatment of this case is too small. As I'm sure you all know, I would like to give you a quick introduction to what is happening in France first. The incident was triggered by the town of South-Terre. There is a town called South-Terre in the lower reaches of the Seine River, which flows through the center of Paris. In this town, when a police officer stopped a 17-year-old man riding in a car, the young man disobeyed the police officer's instructions, and the police shot him at close range, resulting in the young man's death. Tracing the ancestry of this young man, his roots are said to be in Algeria and Morocco. It has been pointed out that there may be racial discrimination in the background of this incident, and it is said that some kind of protest is taking place. By the way, it seems that it is not uncommon in France these days for the victim to die due to a gunshot by a police officer. Italian media reported 2 deaths in 2020, 3 in 2021, and 13 deaths in 2022. This is the third fatality in this incident so far this year. Police shooting deaths are not uncommon in the current situation in France, with blacks and Arabs more likely to be victims. There is a possibility that different backgrounds and circumstances are involved in taking up only this incident as racism. Police also apparently initially claimed that the deceased was firing because he drove the car toward officers. By the way, I will also explain why the police are firing more. In the past, police firing was very restrained in France and allowed only in limited circumstances, such as self-defense. However, the rules changed after a major terrorist incident occurred in 2015. The circumstances in which it is permissible to shoot to protect the lives and safety of oneself and others have expanded, resulting in more cases of police shootings and the death of victims. However, this is not a case of police using guns too lightly. The problem in France is that many drivers do not follow the instructions of the police. There are people who use drugs to drive and people who repeatedly drive. These acts are dangerous, so it is only natural that the police want them to crack down firmly. In France, it seems that there are quite a few people who do not obey the police even if they try to stop them, and it seems that police shootings are not uncommon. Therefore, it is not an unprecedented case that a young man was killed by police shooting, but it seems that the fact that the moment of the shooting was captured on video and spread rapidly on SNS is one of the causes of this uproar. Well, the information that is spread in videos has problems that are not just correct information. There is a story that fake information is spreading on SNS. I was watching the situation in France on Twitter and thought that something was wrong, but it turns out that it was actually a scene from a movie. When I saw the scene on Twitter without knowing anything, I wondered if France was in a serious situation. However, there are quite a few people who post such information to incite it, so people who see it may retweet and spread it without knowing that it is a movie scene. As a result, more people are affected. In fact, in France, there are cases where simple looting is occurring, and it cannot be said that it is a protest against racism. Actions such as setting fire to buildings and robbing shops are no longer a matter of racism or political issues. It's going to be. There are other examples, so let me introduce them. In France, police stations were also attacked, and there was information that order could not be maintained, but there may actually be such cases. If the police are not functioning, people who have the idea of taking advantage of the commotion to loot will end up going to loot because the police are not functioning. The dissemination of riot information, including fake information, on social media is further accelerating the destruction of order in France. However, this story does not have the justification of protesting against racism. There is also information that immigrants are discriminated against in France, and looking at recent Twitter, there is a lot of information about former colonial rule uploaded. In short, there is also a lot of information spreading that fuels hatred of the French among people with African roots. If this is a tweet that doesn't resonate with the heart, it won't have any effect, but perhaps in France today, there is a sense that immigrants are being discriminated against. And from the perspective of those who originally lived in France, I think there is an idea that the immigrants have changed France until now. The ideal is coexistence and co-prosperity, but when immigrants actually come and live there, differences in customs and ways of thinking can lead to conflicts in society and mutual unhappiness. Under normal circumstances, a sense of distance that allows you to see only the good points of each other may work well, but in actual life, not all the good points are there. Unless you are very insensitive, or do not feel any discomfort or stress when people who have completely different customs and values come to you, it is better not to get too close to the natives and immigrants. Maybe for each other. This is not just about France. This is the case in other European countries as well as in the United States. In particular, I don't think people are aware of the issue of racism in Japan, but in Europe and the United States, it could lead to riots. I think there is a good chance that riots in other countries will be triggered if there is a big media report that there is a big problem that is causing order in France, and if it is added to the fanning on social media. It may be that the media are afraid of such risks and do not want to deal with the French issue too much. And in Japan, when I live in Japan, there are so many different types of people among Japanese people that I feel like I can't stand human relationships, even among Japanese people. Even though I am Japanese, I sometimes feel that I do not understand the other person. However, if you take a step outside of Japan, that is not the case. Japanese people are not very accustomed to differences in race and culture. There are many parts where you can somehow guess by the atmosphere. So if a lot of people who don't understand the way of thinking come, it may be a more serious problem than France is now. That's all for now. See you next time.